This conference will now be recorded.
It's being recorded now, right? More English for once, so that everybody can understand. Whoever wants to watch it later, they can watch it. Okay. Today, I will start from scratch for those of you who haven't connected to Amazon Web Service. We are using. Let me open a notepad for you guys. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to connect to MySQL database, okay, and just like publish some data to MySQL, right? So the client we will use is one of them is MySQL workbench, right? So that is for testing to make sure that we have connection to the MySQL database, and then we'll also use Java code to connect to the database. Okay, so that is the flow, entire flow, right? Now the question is, what is this MySQL located? We're not installing any of these services in our local machine. We are trying to use cloud. So this MySQL, we're going to use AWS RDS. Okay, so we're going to have to create an account and create a database, and then client, we're going to use workbench or Java client to connect. Okay, so that is the flow. Now let me show you what my Amazon account looks like. If I go to AWS, so this is where you would go. I'm assuming that everyone here has a AWS account, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're just gonna have to give your username. Yeah, if you don't have created an account, just go ahead and create one. It's free for 1 year, but just keep in mind that there is a certain usage limit that you need to be aware of. So now if you go to, okay, we'll go to AWS, we'll go to services. If you go to services, you can see, so these are all different options, right? But what we are interested is in the database. So in the database, you would see RDS, right? So there are different database, right? One of them is RDS, DynamoDB, Elastic Cache, Neptune, Amazon Redshift. So they have different purposes. So what we would use today is RDS. I don't know what RDS stands for. I'm assuming it's relational database system. But yeah, but is it?
Yeah, it's relation database.
Okay, perfect. So I mean, if you don't have created a database, you can just go ahead and start with create. Okay, they just go ahead and click one.
Restore from S3 or something.
I mean, if you have one in S3, then you could restore it. But let's just say that we are starting from scratch, right? We don't have any database yet. In my case, I have already one, as you can see here, right? One is running, but for the sake of starting from scratch, let's just say that I don't have any, right? I think this is you don't have any database setup, right, Prince?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a local, but I already open account in AWS, but I haven't connected to it, that AWS database.
Okay, you haven't. So have you created any database on the RDS?
And my local, yeah.
You have or you haven't?
Yeah, I have a local, MySQL database in local.
Not in local. AWS RDS.
AWS, but the only thing is I didn't connect with the AWS database.
Okay, that's fine. Let's just say that let's create a database, right? So this is what database are we gonna use today? Tell me.
MySQL.
MySQL, right? So I mean, it's all up to you guys, but you know, for learning purpose, MySQL. Let's just use MySQL and then just set next. Oh no, let's just go back. So just use this option, only enable options eligible for RDS free users here, right? So that, I mean, if you select this option, I think it would only show you the options for free tier, so that later on by mistake, if you choose something, you won't get charged. So just to be on the safe side, just select this feature. If you want to know, I don't know what are the different options they have for free tiers. You can, if you want to understand more, you can always go to the documentation, right? Just click on info and then you'll get more documentation details. And then here on the database details, you don't have to specify much, I believe. Just like put it by default, auto scaling or allocated storage, and just auto scaling. Just don't change anything. Here, let's just say my database instance. Okay, we'll just do my camel case. Oh, I cannot do the camel case. Database instance 2, because I've already created one, right? I'll just give my database instance name. Then username, let me give as root 1. Oh, I'll just give root 2, and then just set the password. Right. So now you're just gonna do next. Root 2. Okay, save. Now, usually, if by default, so here you need to pay attention here on the network and security, right? Do you know what this means? Public accessibility. What does this mean? Do you know by any chance?
I mean, like public, anyone can access on that things, right? It's not a private, right?
So public accessibility, right? So if you or anyone wants to access the database outside of the network, when I meant network, I'm assuming it's Amazon network, right? So I think they call it virtual VPC, virtual private cloud. So if you are hosting, if you're connecting to the database within that VPC, then you don't have to say yes, right? Because that it's safer that way. You know what I mean? Because you're accessing, let's say that you have something in EC2 and you want to connect it to RDS from EC2, right? For example, then you don't need to say yes, right? Because you're already in the VPC in that network, Amazon network, and you will never access it through outside, right? So you can say no. But for this specific case, we're gonna have to access through local machine, right? And is that local machine in the virtual cloud network, virtual private cloud of Amazon? It's not, right? It's within your IP address, right? Correct?
Yeah.
It makes sense?
Yeah.
So you get your IP address, like you have your unique IP address, right, at your home. You go to office, and that's like a public, right? So that's where you need to select yes. Here, and all these are options, different options. That port by default is 3306. That is, I think that's standard for database port. I don't know, that's what I've been seeing a lot. Database name root 2, just keep it default, and then let's just say yes for now. Let's just do create a database. Your database has been created, right? It takes a few minutes, but just look at let's look at how many instances you have. So this one I created I think last week. So this is running right now. This is we're creating it now. So this, I think it takes a few minutes to create. So now if I try to connect to this database, let's say for example this is done, you cannot, right? You still need to, there's some settings you need to configure. We'll come back once this is available. But what I'm trying to say is, for example, let's just go here, right, on this one. So if you go to security group, for this one, the public accessibility is yes, right? So that means it's allowing access from off the network, right? Let's just click here on the security. Here, if you go on this security group, what you need to select is inbound rules you need to configure, right? So actions, edit inbound rules. Here you'll see, and here I believe you would have to do all traffic. If it's not, just do all traffic, and then here also you just do anywhere. Okay, anywhere. Yeah. So that way, any incoming call to RDS will be accepted. Otherwise, it will get declined. And in that case, you will say the client will say not able to connect to RDS, or some error message you'll get. Okay, that you need to configure. This is an important step. A lot of the times we usually miss this step, and that's the reason we're not able to connect it. So make sure that you have configured inbound rules. It's nothing but you're going to whitelist the IP address that you're trying to connect it from. Make sense?
Right.
Yes.
I think Bikesh is pretty clear about this. I don't know about Prince. Like, if you have any questions, please ask here. This is very important, right? So it's not only about AWS, it's about the general cloud concept, right? If you, let's say that you have your some database or some system in the cloud, right? And then if somebody wants to access it, then you would need to specify who is trying to connect to me, right? You're not gonna give access open port to everyone. That's how the hacking happens, right? So
Right.
you would have to know your client basically, right? And then you allow certain networks to be connected to your system. Okay, this is what it is. And even if you move to Azure or Google Cloud or Visual Cloud Foundry, any cloud you go to, right? This is the concept that you need to understand. This is not like okay, this is especially for AWS. Maybe in AWS they call it inbound rules. Maybe if you go to Azure they call it like IP whitelisting, or maybe it could be any other names, right? That you need to understand. Okay.
Right.
Now I'm just gonna cancel this because this has already been set to anywhere. Now this is, let's just go back again to the same instances. Let's see how many instances we have first. Services, RDS. So this is, yeah, okay. This is what you need to do for this my database instance too. Now let's just use this one because this is already created, my database instance. So here what you need to look at is the endpoint. This is the endpoint for the my database instance database, correct? All you need is this guy endpoint, and you need the port, and you need your credentials, right? Whatever we defined before, username and password, correct? Now let's just go to our client. You could, if you have installed MySQL on your local machine, you could just directly use the command line. Let's just say if cmd, you just go here and then you open MySQL, right? But I haven't installed on my machine, so I cannot access it from my command line. But I've installed MySQL workbench, right? Workbench. So do you guys have this client?
Yes.
Yeah. If not, just download it for your machine online. It's free. Now, if I go here, let's just go to workbench. So the other window, you would just open it and then go to database, manage connections, just give a name. Let's just say my DB instance, let's just give Amazon AWS. Connection name AWS RDS MySQL demo. We'll just say that, okay? So this is the default IP address for your computer, I think. So what do we need here? Who is the host? Who is the host?
I think this endpoint is the host.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Amazon is the host, right? So you need to find that endpoint. You just go here and find that endpoint. So this is the endpoint, correct? Now let me just put it there in root, and password would be whatever your password is, right? Okay, and then this connection. So successfully made the MySQL connection, right? So you're able to do the connection. Looks good. Now you're gonna do close. Let me just copy this for now. Now I still haven't, I was just testing the connection. Now if you want to establish the connection, just say connect to the database, and you can just say, just put your, I could have saved it earlier, but that's fine. Just say your password here. Okay. Now it's connected. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Now what is this? Okay. Now, okay. Let's see. Let's create a database. Create database called address. Okay, employees. Right. So we're able to create the database. Now let's use that database use employees, right?
Mhm.
Use employees. That is done. So I think Bikesh, you don't have to select entire. You don't have to run it entirely, entire script. If you just like, if you put the cursor at the end of the statement, and then if you
Yeah.
press this guy, you will just execute that particular line statement. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That
That's,
makes.
now we have the table. We can create a table, right? Okay, let me just copy and paste it from the here. Let me go to my workbench.
So what do you mean by like when you say the creating schema? It's like creating database.
Now we need to, so now we have a database, right? Now what
Yeah.
do we need? We need to create a table, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing, basically. Make sense? Yeah, I'll take any questions if you guys have any.
I mean like the what do you mean by the schema?
Hmm?
Schema when you say like schema, I think we have an option. What do you mean like when you say like creating a schema in
Schema is
database?
just employees. Yeah.
Oh,
Schema refers to a
schema.
database. So in a
Okay.
schema, you could have multiple database, right? So that is what we're doing.
Okay.
So now here, what we're gonna do is we can do any questions, you guys?
No.
Okay. Employee table, we can say employee ID integer, right? We can say that, and then employee first name, and we can say I think for a car. You guys know these simple queries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just look over online. You'll find plenty of resources for this. This is nothing but we're just trying to make a table, defining the metadata for the table, right? Employee last name we'll say, and this is. I don't think the employee first name will be ever than 100 characters. We'll just say 50.
Yeah.
Okay, that means you can have 150 characters, right?
Like 20.
Yeah, 20 is better. I don't think anybody has.
50 is like long.
Maybe, but let's define 20. Okay. Why you use the extra space, right? So that is mandatory. We'll say, and then we'll just say primary key as employee EMP ID. Now we have our table, right? If we want to see the table, I think we can say describe employee table, right? There we have it. So this is our table. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you want to insert, any questions for this?
Mhm.
Do you know what this? Okay, describe what does this mean? Null. What does this mean? Barca 20 integer 11. What does this mean?
There is no any record, right? All means
Mhm.
no any data, right?
What is that?
Mhm. Null means
What
I
is
think
that?
there's no
What
data.
all means like
Is this the actual data?
No, that's the data type. That's
data types,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, this is data type, right? So if you say null, this is no. It has to be there has to be some value, right? It doesn't allow null. That's what it seems. In primary key, what is primary key?
It's a unique.
It's a unique key.
Right. So you need to have some kind of key, right?
Yeah.
To uniquely identify its row.
It's not to be a teacher, right?
Right. So now, if we want to insert something onto the table, we can say insert. I think it's into. Let's see, into
Table name.
Into table name. What is the table name? Employee table, right? And then we'll just say values, right? We'll give in, let's say, one. First name is Vikas, maybe, right? And then last name is, let's just say Shrestha. Are you Shrestha?
Yeah.
You are. What happened here? IMSERT. Oh, okay, that's why. There we go. Right. So let me execute this statement. So that is good. You can look at the output. If it's green, then the particular statement went smoothly. Okay. If it's red, then you may have incorrectly typed the syntax. Okay. Now, if I want to query that particular table, I can just say select star from employee table, right? Let's see what we have here. Here we go. So one because rest, right? So we'll add one more value here. 2 friends. What is this? Friends. Give me a last name. American last name.
Charles.
That is the first name. Is it? We'll just say Michelle. Okay. All right. Let me execute the statement. Now we can query the table, right? So what happened here? Insert into for. Oh, I can't have the same primary key, right? So I have to change this.
Yeah.
So now I can go to this. Here we go. Now we have it. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Now we're good. So now we have a table called employee table. That is, so we are able to set up connection. We're able to create a database. We're able to create table inside the database, and we did some CRUD operations, right? So we're good. Now the thing is, like, how do we connect it from Java, right? The thing is, if you open, so now what's the difference in connecting from Java or connecting it from MySQL? Why do we need to connect it from here, Java?
So what's the question?
Why do you need to connect it from Java? Like, what is the purpose that why do you need to connect it from MySQL and MySQL Workbench, and why do you need to connect it from like the Java?
Okay. Library, like record, whatever the data needs to be stored in database, right? So without connection with the application, it is not possible to store data or whatever, the manipulate, update, insert the data in the database. It is not possible, right? So to do some CRUD operation in the database, like, so
yeah, you can do the CRUD operations from the any client, right? Like your command line or your MySQL Workbench. But like, if you want to do it programmatically, if you want to have some system to system connections, if you want to like do some data manipulation, that then you would need to introduce some kind of language, right? Programming language. That's why we're actually doing it from the Java as a language, and we're using SpringBoot as a framework, right? And we could use traditional like JDBC to connect to the database, but there is a framework called Hibernate, which is, and SpringBoot is making like very easy to connect to database, right? For example, all you need to define in your properties file is the data source URL, you know what I mean, right? The URL that we discussed before. In that URL, you need to give your whatever your database is, right? So in our case, this is MySQL, right? And you need to give the this is the syntax, and you need to give this endpoint and the port and the database name. So what is this? What database is this? Database instance, I mean, not the. So the instance is, for us, the instance would be, I think, MyDB instance, correct? But this instance, because you could have multiple and you're trying to connect it to the DIBs, right? So database could have multiple instances. So it has to identify which instance are you trying to connect to, correct? So let's just go here and then just say my database instance. So I will not give my credentials here. You can actually give these credentials. I'll give my username here. I think this is root. So password, I'll give it. I can give it here actually. So I can go to VM arguments. I think it's T Spring. That give it as, oh no, not here. I think I can give it here. Environment variables. Let's see if this works. Okay. Let me just, okay. T Spring data source. Password. I'm running the program right now. It's taking a while. So any questions you guys have as of now?
No.
Basically, we're just giving out credentials, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what endpoint we're trying to connect to, what is our credentials, username and password, and stuff like that. Let me just stop this. I don't know why it's taking a while. Let me do Maven clean. Clean.
We can put like this username and password in the same after this, right? So yeah.
You can put the password here, but I don't want anyone to see this, right? So I put the password in the configuration. In the
we can put the username and password in the URL one, right?
What do you mean you can URL?
Right there, like we separately put the username and password, right? So we can put that username and password in the same URL line, right? After that, putting some semi.
I'm not quite clear what you're trying to convey. So I think there is some issues with the password, it seems. Let me just put it here itself. Interesting. What is the issue? Unable to create request to service. Let's see what. My DB instance port root. Just a second. I think this is related to the credentials. Let me just see. What could be here? Let me check the. An AWS instance. We both are available. Can you guys also try from your end? So this code is actually, I have uploaded the code in the Hibernate AWS RDS MySQL in the GitHub. Just download the code from there and then try to put your credentials and try to connect it to the RDS. Okay, and let's see what errors you get. I'm trying to figure out like what's happening here. Okay. Exception. Okay, disconnect.
Do we need to configure build path or not?
That you need to configure, right? To run the application.
Yeah.
So I'm able to connect it now. It's fine. It's working. Okay. I actually gave the instance name instead of the database name. We are supposed to give the database, not the instance. Okay. Now it's running, right?
Right.
See. So we created this table. Database called employees, right? The schema employees. And here you can just say here on this data source URL, you can just keep that particular schema link. Okay, make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's just try to verify what we have here, right? Now what I have done here is I have a controller. I have exposed two services, right? Add and all, right? So for add, what it does is it has a domain object called user. It has this ID, name, and email attributes, right? Right? It's an entity object. So it will tell Hibernate to make a table out of this from this class, right? ID, name, and email. So Hibernate will just automatically create a table for you guys. Okay? That is the beauty of Hibernate. You don't need to do any extra heavy lifting work to do it for you. You just have to define a simple plain object, plain old Java object, right? And you use some annotation called entity, and then it will do it for you. Okay. That is all you need to understand for now. We'll deep dive later, but okay, in general. Make sense? This is what this is?
Yeah.
Make sense or not?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I'm not going into too much detail here. I'm just like trying to establish a connection and then just trying to like export two APIs and then trying to like send some data to the database, right? And then later on you can put a debugger and then start like trying to figure out what the code is doing. Okay. But it's just simple code. Like we have exposed two services. It will just create some user and then create a table out of it, right? So now we have called add. Now let's use Postman. Say add, right? It's the same. Let's try to put some data in the database, right? Can do that. And in the body, I can give. I can just use curl command instead. Fastest way is okay. I'm gonna give name is first, okay, and an email is email address, okay. Let's see. Saved. Now we can query the data. We just say all get. We'll get the data back, right? So we added some data and then we retrieve whatever we added, right? Make sense? The reason why I did curl command is because when you work, you'll see this quite often. You can make HTTP request using curl command, okay? So if we do it from Postman, what we would do is we would make a request to localhost 8080, right? Right. This is the endpoint, right? And what is the data would be name and email address, right? Something like this. Body. Code. Okay, it's part of the parameter, right? So I cannot give that as a body. I would need to give that as a what is that? Tell me. Form data, right? So what is that? The one is email. Email would be something like bcash@gmail.com and then name will be bcash. Let's see. Saved, right? Now if we want to query the same data from the database, we can just say all. See? Whatever we added, we're able to fetch it back, right? So we're able, that being said, we're able to do CRUD operations, right, to the database. Clear? Any questions you guys have? This is clear?
So whatever we like,
try to understand the flow. I mean,
yeah, whatever we post the data on the Postman, and then we need to do the same thing in the CRUD operation application, or what do you say?
what is the question again? Sorry.
So whatever we post the data in the Postman, right?
Whatever data you're posting through a microservice, let's say through a REST API, you try and that data goes to the database, right? That particular
So
table.
we can see that data in the database, right?
Exactly. So that data we have exposed a service, REST service, and that REST service tries to go to the will go to the database and try to fetch those data. That is what you are saying right now.
Yeah.
Okay. First like inserting the data, and the other one is selecting the data from the particular table. That is what we're doing through REST API. Clear? Make sense? That is what we're doing. So basically, when you make an add request, it will come here, right? And then the parameter name and email address is part of the header. It's part of the body. It's called so it's part of the body. It's a form data, right? So you don't want to say email and your name. You'll give it here, and then it will come here, right? And then there's a user DO object. It will set those name and email, and it will, if you make this and then there is a repository, right? If you go to user repository, all you need to do is extend the CRUD repository, right? And Spring will figure it out the rest for you. Okay, all you need to do is extend the CRUD repository, and then once you do that, you don't need to do anything, and the Spring will know what to do with the data, right? So what method are we using right now? So the method you're using is user repository dot save. It will save the data to the database, right? And what is the object you're passing? You're passing the user object, right? So if you, instead of the user object, if you want to pass, let's just create something else, okay? If you want to like create something else, you just make some dummy object, right? Dummy d equals to new dummy, right? You want to make that particular object, right? If you want to change that data, you just say d. Make sense? That is what we make.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I'm doing this, I'm assuming that you have a knowledge of how to create an objects and what we're trying to like, setting the object and then trying to like map or whatever the body we're getting into that particular object, and then sending that object to the database. That is what we're doing, right? So everything has to go through an object. There is a saying, right? I mean, everything is an object in Java. So we have to play with different objects and receive an object, manipulate that object, and send that object to the database. That is what we're doing. Okay. And there is another method called findAll. Again, it will extend that same class user repository, right? If you do findAll, it will just give it basically inside. It will do select star to the table, and it will give all the results for you. Okay. That is all we're doing. Nothing major like rocket science here. Simple. Any questions?
No.
Okay, so that being said, like I'll stop the recording so I can publish this to all your students. For now, let me stop the recording. Stop the recording.